Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for that live stream show. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully everybody's ready for a great show. We're going to be talking fishing, answering questions, talking about what's going on now, what's coming up, and so much more during tonight's live stream show. So thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us and making tonight's show possible. Appreciate everybody tuning in to the Sunday night live stream show. Hopefully you're ready to win some free trips. We're going to give away over $1,500 in free trips during the show. We give away a 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2, a 39-hour for 1, and of course, our Hubbard's Marina swag pack. So hopefully you're ready for that as well. Remember, if you want a chance to win some free stuff, you do have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So make sure you comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream and watch the entire show live. You can't pop in 20 minutes into the show and try to win free trips. It doesn't work. You actually have to comment one time pretty early in the show and then watch the entire show live. That's how the Facebook comment picker will pick you up and potentially give you some free stuff. So make sure you watch the entire show live. Make sure you comment once early on in the show, and you can comment more if you want to, but in order to be eligible to win, you do have to watch the entire show live, comment early, and then if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you got to text us within 5 minutes at the phone number at the bottom of the screen to claim your free trip. So make sure you're paying attention, watching live, and commenting. Also, it's super helpful if you like the video, whether you're watching on Trovo, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Super helpful if you like the video. If you're watching on one of those platforms that allows you to share the video, even more helpful as well. So like, comment, share. We would super appreciate it. Also, want to give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. This show is brought to you by our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't gotten over there and seen them and thank them for their support, make sure you do so. Again, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete, Gator Jim's Tackle, huge selection, killer deals, unbelievable deals, and just an amazing group of individuals. So make sure you get over there and say hello to our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. Also, want to give a shout out to those who are sending stars. The stars are a way for Facebook viewers to show their support and help really fuel the show, so really appreciate all those sending stars. We had Stephen Batchelor, Jim Evans, Nick Nieves with a big 1,200 stars, Lee Willis, Jasmine Marie, Keith White, Frank Pender with a big 1,200 stars. Thanks, Frank. Richard Blazak, what's up, buddy? Sam Lang with 490. Richard Blazak again. Gary Camage, appreciate you, buddy. Nick Nieves with 530. James McCullum with 500. Appreciate you, my friend. Ryan Kelly. Tony Barnes with a big 500. Thanks, buddy. Angel Perez with a big 99. Thank you guys so much for the stars. Really appreciate that. And super, super helpful to keep us going on the show and help make all of this possible. So thank you, Gator Gyms. Thank you, star senders, and a big shout out, special shout out to those in our supporters group. If you're not a part of the supporters group, check it out. It's a great way to get more behind the scenes access, more communication, and the private after show. The private after show occurs right after the main live show. It is going to be typically around 20 to 30 minutes of added information, more insight, more background, and then throughout the week you get some more content as well. So check out the supporters group. It's only $4.99 a month. You get private access to the private group, the after show, and so much more. So check it out. It's worth it. Josh will drop the link here in the comments shortly. So definitely check out becoming a supporter. With that, we've talked about how you win free trips. We talked about how you help support the show. Now we're going to get into the photos and show you guys what we've been catching. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the weather. Then we're going to get into your questions and some updates about what's been going on. It's been a busy week for me personally, for the fishery, and at Hubbard's Marina. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Hopefully you're ready for a good show. Remember, if you do have a question, drop it in the comment or drop it in the text message to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. You could drop your question in the comments, but likely we won't be able to see it because the comments move really fast because we have a lot of people watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Trovo, and Twitch. So the comments start moving really, really fast, and it makes it difficult to keep up with. So if you have a comment, if you have a question, text us at the phone number at the bottom of the screen. With that, let's get into the photos and show you guys what we've been catching inshore first. So we're going to work our way inshore and then work our way nearshore and offshore. So inshore right now, it is that time of year, the Jack Crevalle, the canal tuna, as we affectionately call them, are starting to really fire up. And they've been around. They're around all summer, but they get a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more schooled up this time of year for sure. So pretty fun when you see those canal tuna or Jack Crevalle, or people call them jacks, busting the surface and getting all fired up. They're a lot of fun, and they fight so incredibly hard for their size. The redfish bite is just absolutely just silly. It's silly red fishing right now. If you've ever wanted to catch a redfish, get out there on the water, virtually any grass flat, mangrove shoreline, oyster bar, and even most dock lines are going to be holding pretty active redfish right now. Great time to get the redfish. Soft plastics are always a good option, but the live white bait out on the flats is a good option. And even the live shrimp around the docks of John's Pass have been working pretty good for the redfish. The snook bite's still going pretty good too. We see some snook in the pass. This morning early, there was probably like 7 snook at the dock, whereas 3 weeks ago there was 1,700. So the snook are still around the pass. They've just really dwindled on the numbers, and most of the snook have retreated to the back bay and upper bay areas, kind of staging up for their wintertime migration back into the back bay waters where they can regulate their body temperatures. We're getting a lot of schoolie tarpon up in the back bay too as people retreat and start hunting those snook and jacks in the upper bay and back bay areas. You run into these juvenile tarpon. Triple tail season is also upon us. You know what time of year it is? It's stone crab season, y'all. And I'm going to get my first order of stone crabs here in 7 days, and I'm counting down the minutes. I can taste it. People get excited about pumpkin spice. No, not me. I'm looking forward to stone crab and melted butter. It's going to be so sweet. So stone crab season also coincides with triple tail season. What happens when they put out those stone crab traps everywhere? They might as well be little chum blocks. They attract a lot of bait. They attract a lot of fish. Triple tail are often spotted hanging under those crab pots along our beaches and nearshore waters. In the bay, you can find the triple tail under floating debris, under floating grass. Channel markers often are holding those triple tail, especially around the shipping channel. Real good opportunities for the triple tail. So live shrimp is a real good go-to with a minimal weight or no weight at all. You can also get them on free line greenbacks or minimal weight on the greenbacks. Also working artificial lures like a artificial shrimp or a soft plastic paddle tail are all good ways to spot those triple tail. Most of them are sight casted. You see them hanging underneath some debris, and then you slow down and kind of circle back around, try not to spook them. And always overcast and then retrieve your bait or your lure back towards whatever that triple tail is hanging on. And as long as you don't spook them, most of the time you can catch them. Captain Frank, this time of year when he's heading out, will kind of swerve towards those crab pots, and he'll check those crab trap buoys. And if he spots a triple tail on the way in or way out, a lot of times he'll mark that area and then come back through that area and catch them on the way home from a trip. And they hang around a spot for that long. So typically, if you know they're in the area, you can kind of keep going back there and finding more. Trout bite has been pretty good. Our friend Joe Simons, like diamonds from Salt Strong, showing off a nice little trout, speckled trout action, has been heating up, and the trout work a little bit shallower this time of year as that water temperature cools off and they get more aggressive. So we're seeing some good trout uptick, some good trout action uptick as they move into that like 3 to 4 foot of water area, and definitely seeing more of that trout aggressiveness picking up. So should see more and more trout. Also, what wasn't in the photos that's happening right now, we're seeing still some pompano around. There's lots of late season tarpon around, and flounder action has been picking up. Flounder action definitely going well. And Capt Mike was on a charter Thursday and Friday. No, it was Friday. It was Friday. So I don't have the photos yet for this week. We'll have them for this upcoming week. But Capt Mike was on a trip and just crushed it. So if he calls in tonight, I'll let him talk about that, and we'll definitely show you the photos from next week. Just absolutely stellar redfish action. So you got trout picking up, a lot of redfish around. Snook are on the move and are super aggressive. So really good time to get out there and fish that inshore waters. But as always, the big news is nearshore and offshore. So let's work our way nearshore and offshore now and show you guys the real action, the gag grouper. And it is time to fire up those gag groupers and take advantage of the last little bit of gag grouper season. So gag groupers definitely the focus, but there's a lot of other things going on right now too. We're catching a ton of triggerfish. Triggerfish action really going well. Season is still open on them. We're catching and harvesting a ton of triggerfish. Big vermilion snapper. We're seeing nice yellowtail, good mangrove snapper numbers. Mutton snapper just won't quit. We're seeing a lot of almacos, porgies, and plenty of other species too. Remember, scamp grouper's open, strawberry grouper. There's a ton of fish to catch. Near shore, we're real focused on those hogfish. We're seeing good lanes, mangroves, and you know what? You know what's exciting? Kingfish run, mackerel run is here. I would say the mackerel run is here. The kingfish run is starting. We caught a lot of kingfish on this recent 39-hour trip. The one that came back this morning had a handful of kingfish on it, and no one was fishing for them. We just kept catching them as we're dropping baits down and reeling baits up. So the kingfish are thick out there offshore. They're going to work their way near shore probably by the next moon phase, next full moon, which is in about 2.5 weeks. We should be inundated with the kingfish, would be my guess, my estimation, my forecast. We've got a lot of mackerel around already in the bay, around the beaches, near shore, artificial reefs. We got a lot of bait. So definitely the mackerel and kingfish are here. Sheepshead are starting. We're seeing some of the sheepshead in the bay, but nothing crazy near shore yet. But definitely mackerel and kingfish are on and popping. So this is the time of year you want to grab the trolling tackle. On the way out on a 5-hour half day, you can, on the way out, the way back, you can pick up a lot of mackerel, maybe a kingfish. On the way out on a 39-hour trip or 44-hour trip, you can pick up some of those mackerel and kingfish for cut bait as well. Definitely seeing some of these red grouper we're having to toss back, but the hogfish bite is going pretty darn well. Should only get better and better and better. Seeing some nice hogfish action. And am I just now noticing that reel is falling off that rod in this picture? Yeah. That's kind of funny. Nice. Definitely seeing some nice hogfish. The 10-hour all-day, Captain James ran that recently. They picked up a nice load of hogfish. Captain Frank is back in town too. He's hunting the hogfish. We're seeing a lot of good hogfish action on the hub with Captain Seabass, Captain Sal. Everybody's getting those hogfish near shore right now. You can see here a nice big old mangrove snapper. The mangrove snapper, average size, definitely been going well for us too. We're getting a lot of mangrove snapper and pretty good overall average size. Still getting some average ones, but a lot of the big ones coming up as well. So good time to get out there and capitalize on a killer snapper bite. We're getting some of the throwback red snapper, but some big mutton snapper mixed in for sure. You can see here the 5-hour half day, the near shore trips, the 10-hour all days, getting plenty of meat. Those gray snapper or white grunts are awful small compared to some of the fish we show you photos of typically, but they're good eating. We've been catching a lot of them. Triggerfish action going well. Seeing a ton of these yellowtail snapper. It's crazy. Some pretty good size to those yellowtail snapper too. So yellowtails, look at that pig of a yellowtail snapper. We're going to take myself out of it. Oh, son of a sailor. There it is. This is the button I meant to hit. Look at that yellowtail snapper. Holy moly. It is just amazing, the size of yellowtail snapper that we're seeing lately. And mutton snapper. We've been seeing a lot of these mutton snapper too. So the mutton snapper fishing is going well and catching a lot of those mutton snapper. The jackpot winning fish on the 39-hour was a mutton snapper. Recently on a 10-hour all day, we caught a mutton snapper. So it's crazy the amount of yellowtail snapper and mutton snapper that we're seeing now. It's not something that we really saw even 2 years ago. We maybe caught a mutton snapper every maybe 2 a month. Now it's like 5 to 10 to 15 mutton snapper a trip. It's crazy the amount of mutton snapper we've been seeing, plus big consistent numbers of yellowtail snapper. And as you can see, some of them are large yellowtail snapper. So pretty awesome for sure to see those big numbers and big surges of kind of unique fish for our area. So as Gag Grouper closes, we're going to really focus on those yellowtails, those muttons, those almacos, those porgies, those vermilions, those scamp, those triggerfish, those strawberry. There's just so many fish to get out there and go catch. So still plenty of options for you even as other seasons come to a close. So let's talk about who's going to win our first free trip of the night. We got our 5-hour half day for 2. We got a 10-hour all day for 2, a Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and a 39-hour to give away tonight. So we got to give away something free to get started. Then from there, we're going to talk a little bit about the weather. Then we're going to get into your questions. So if you have a question, make sure you text it in to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you've commented to get entered to win. Because remember, in order to win some free stuff, you have to comment early and you have to stay on the show, watch live. And then if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, text your full home address to the phone number on the screen within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live and to claim your free trip. So you got to watch live, you got to stay watching live, and you got to pay attention in order to win free trips. That's the idea, is to hopefully make it fair for everybody who's actually watching. So we're going to give away our 5-hour half-day fishing trip for 2 guests. 5-hour half-day trip for 2 guests. Let's see who the lucky winner is of our 5-hour half-day for 2 guests. Kyle Porter. Congratulations, Kyle. He came out on the 12-hour trip this past Friday night with Captain James. They did pretty well, catching some nice big mangrove snapper on that 12-hour night trip. Wasn't a ton of mangroves, but they caught some big ones. Congratulations, Kyle. The big mangrove snapper was close to 7 pounds from the 12-hour night trip, and they caught a handful of them too. There was like 5 or 6 fish within a pound or so of the jackpot winner on that 12-hour night trip. So to have more than a half dozen fish in contention for the jackpot on a 12-hour night trip, with the jackpot winner being 7 pounds, is impressive. So definitely some good mangrove snapper fishing in that deeper nearshore water right now. And we see some of that action even on our 10-hour all day. So let's get into the weather, and then we'll get into your questions. So first things first, let's pop on over to the Hubbard's Marina website page. At hubbardsmarina.com, you can click Fishing Trips, scroll down to the Weather Links tab, and we're going to start right here under the Wind Finder Forecast page. We're going to first click on our 5 and 10-hour forecast area. That's going to bring us to our Egmont Key Channel buoy, and the weather has changed significantly multiple times through the last 12 hours. Last night, it was looking like we were going to get some serious wind and weather there Wednesday afternoon into Thursday. This morning, it looked like weather was going to die down today, and it was going to be beautiful all the way through the week until potentially a cold front. Now, it looks like we're going to see some pretty significant winds starting Wednesday and really not relenting too much. It was originally showing us a nice day Friday, kind of calming down Thursday and looking really good Friday. Now it's showing wind is not really backing down much. However, It looks like, yeah, a lot of rain Thursday and Friday. That's not great. So I would say your best day of fishing, according to this, best day of fishing weather, best opportunity to catch the most amount of fish looks like Tuesday. Tuesday, I would say Tuesday's 39-hour trip. Thursday, it's going to get a little nautical. Friday, it looks a little nautical. Let's work our way offshore. So this is the Egmont buoy. So let's look at the 12-hour stream and 39-hour area. Yeah, not great weather-wise. Hopefully this changes. Again, what I'm showing you just changed in the last few hours. This morning's video, I said Friday looked like a great day to go fishing. Now it's 5 foot and raining all day Friday. So it could change back very easily. So don't get disheartened if you've got a 39-hour trip booked. But look at this. Solid cold front coming through. So basically what's going on, what's causing this is we have a little tropical weather moving across the Gulf, and that tropical weather is going to kind of sit in our area Wednesday and Thursday and bring all this rain. And it was supposed to clear up really nicely and get beautiful, but now it's lengthening and a prefrontal activity comes down, and then we get a front Sunday. So we get tropical weather, prefrontal activity, and then cold front. And so we were going to get a break in between all that, but it seems like now they're forecasting it not to give us a break. So let's look at the ultimate storm forecast page, spaghettimodels.com. Our friend Mike from Mike's weather page. We're going to pop on over to Tropical Tidbits, and we're going to look at what's going on. Let's go over to regions, go to the southeast United States, and this is what's happening. We got a little tropical system hitting Mexico, hitting the west side of Mexico, and it slides on over the Gulf of Mexico. And this is Thursday early, and then it just kind of hangs out and doesn't really go anywhere. All that tropical moisture just trains, and then finally that cold front comes down Sunday and pulls the moisture off us. So originally they were showing this tropical system to come sweeping across the Gulf, clearing out and being beautiful Thursday and Friday, really Friday being beautiful, but now they have it just sitting there, all that green stuff just sitting on us until boom, that's the front. You can see the cold front there. Cold front moves across and pulls all that moisture off us. That's the GFS model. The GFS model is what drives Windfinder, and that's why Windfinder changed its tune so much. This is the Euro model. If you look at the Windy app, Windy is all driven by the Euro model. So you can see here, tropical weather moves across Wednesday, Thursday, really, really rainy Thursday, and then same thing. It kind of has it hanging out. Euro has it clearing up a little bit Friday, but then you can see that cold front working its way down. We get that prefrontal activity, and then cold front leaves. So gonna be breezy probably Wednesday through at least Monday now. That's what it's showing. Both the Euro model and the GFS model are agreeing. So not so great. So if you can, take advantage of the weather before it goes bad. And again, Tuesday looks like your best weather day. But it could change. It could change. And as you can hear, we've got Capt. Mike Anderson on the phone. What's going on, man?
What's up, buddy?
How are you?
Not liking. Well, I was real good until you dropped that weather report on me. I got trips later this week, so
Well, I'm
13
here.
boats. I got boats running tomorrow, and then I'm fishing Wednesday and Friday. It doesn't sound real positive.
Don't have much good news for you, bud.
All right. Well, you
Sorry
are my
about
meteorologist. So that's all right. It happens. It's
Wednesday especially doesn't
up.
look good, but Friday this morning Friday looked like it was going to be beautiful. And I was saying
That's
this
what
morning,
I thought, yeah.
if you watch the video this morning, I was saying Tuesday this week and Friday look best, but unfortunately that has changed significantly. Like I said, that cold front is seemingly slowed down a little bit, allowing that tropical weather to kind of linger. So it'll be interesting. I mean, essentially they're trying to forecast 2 upper level troughs, which becomes really tricky, especially this time of year. So I would imagine that forecast is going to bounce. So tomorrow morning, It might be back to beautiful Friday, so I wouldn't fret it too much.
Is what it is. And this, I've been doing now for 23 years or so. You it's way too early to tell.
Yep. Yeah, only look a few days.
And figure it out. Yep.
Only a few days in the future, especially this time of year, especially in the Gulf. You really can only look about 2 to 3 days out with any sort of confidence. I would agree completely. But yeah. I kind of alluded to the fact that you were crushing the fish this past week. I know you've been having some good trips. I mean, what are you seeing out there?
You know what? It's just that time of year. You know, the transition actually probably started a month, ago, maybe even 5 weeks ago or so. Mm-hmm. But once that water temp starts to drop, and the transition triggered a bite, and you could tell the fish had just a little more oomph. You could kind of feel it. That water temp was starting to come down. We had some cloudy days, some rainy days that would drop the water temp 2 or 3 degrees. And, I tell people, if you take your thermostat and you go from, 75 to 72, you can feel that big difference in your house. And it's the same thing with the fish. So we were getting some of that based on what the weather pattern was. If you had some cloud, you had some rain, that water temp would drop and the fish would respond. You could kind of tell that they were noticing the shorter days, and that transition was fired off. When that water temp dropped as much as it has here recently, boy, it just went berserk this week. I mean, Friday was just about as good a trip as I've had, in months as far as just, straight up numbers. And the funny part about it was, the day before I was out, we had bluebird skies. I was breaking in the new 26. I had a moon hanging. Yeah. And there wasn't very many people out because we had wind early in the week, and then the wind had finally come down, but we had that, that bluebird sky, that high pressure. And I even called the guys I knew who were out and said, "I'll bet it sucked today, didn't it?" And they were like, "Oh, it was brutal." I'm like, "Yeah, well." So when I talked to my guys for Friday, Thursday afternoon, I was like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure it's going to suck." All indicators are this is not going to be great, but we're going fishing. We got good weather. Let's just go try it. First bait in the water, snook. We caught probably 30 snook in the first hour that we fished. I actually caught 30 snook and had some redfish and trout mixed in. So I had 2 slams of my 3 guys before 9:30 in the morning, and then went looking for a giant school of redfish that I had gotten some rumors on, and found those fish and just commenced to wearing those fish out for another 2 hours. Fish all the way up to 33, 34 inches. So it was just really, really good to see, that kind of activity, that kind of action. There was a lot of boats on the water Friday. I'm sure there was a lot of boats on the water Saturday as well. But it was the bites just getting better and better and better and better. So, that's the only it's the bad news when you get, weather reports like you just gave where, hey, most of the week could be a little tough.
The fishing is good, and now the weather is bad. Right. That's how it works,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But again, everything's going off. Those snooker and full-blown transition. I'll tell you what was interesting is when I was breaking the boat in the new 26 bay in this week, I wanted to play with the power pole move a little bit because I just finally got a chance to put that new trolling motor on the boat. And I had got into some troughs really, really close to the beach just to take a look, because they're great indicators to see how far along the transition is.
Yeah.
Once you no longer see fish, right there by the beach, then okay, this thing is ramping up. Like these fish are headed to the back, parking on. There was still fish out front.
Really?
Good numbers of fish. Yeah. I was like, what are you guys doing here? Wow.
It's funny because in the past this morning, I was looking around early, and I was super busy, but I still wanted to just see how many snook were over there. There was like 7 snook compared to like the 400 we normally have there. So to me, it was they've really moved.
Maybe it changed since Friday where I was, which is entirely possible. They could have moved, especially, with an evening like we're having tonight, where that, air temps down.
It's chilly.
It really could, make a massive push here. Yeah. Especially, I would think we're going to get a massive push with this cooler water, cooler air temps, ramping towards the new moon. When you get those big tides, fish use those big tides to help that transition, to help that move. And I think that's what will happen on this new moon is we're going to have a huge push of fish. Those fish that are still out front will start that push towards the back. So, and again, with all that energy they burn, they're going to be hungry. So if you can find them in those transitional spots, that they're going to chew. The redfish are chewing really good. I think it's good and bad. We need some more rain.
Yeah.
But with that rain,
get it this week.
the redfish, what happens is redfish, and here it's an old guide fact.
Yeah.
Redfish put their nose into fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
So when fish show up at Fort DeSoto, when we get a ton of rain, those fish push towards the fresh water that's dumping out of the rivers in the bay. So they run up the bay towards the fresh water.
Yeah.
So, they don't sit as long. So it's nice if you have a stretch where the fish show up and then you don't get a bunch of rain because they'll stay on the flat. As long as there's bait there, which there's bait all over the place right now, those fish will hang out.
Yeah.
But that changes once you start to get rain. So if we get a bunch of rain this week, the schools that we've been, having the luxury of putting the beat down on, those fish are going to move.
Yeah.
It's just, especially on these big tides. So just be ready for that. Hopefully your fish logs are up to date for this time of year and you kind of know where your transitional spots are. And if you do, then it should be good. The bait's going to continue to get a little bit bigger and thicken up on some of your deeper water spots. It'll start to pull off the flats just a little bit, pour out towards the markers, towards the bridge, towards the piers out on the beach. And bigger baits. You'll notice too that these fish are going to start to key in on a little bit bigger baits because they know what's coming. So it's a really, really cool time of the year. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited because it's almost time for deer hunting.
Dude, huge shout out to Elijah Coleman. He dropped off I don't know how many logs of cheddar, jalapeno, venison, summer sausage. And this deer was walking 4 weeks ago.
Him and I need to talk. He needs a charter with Captain Mike, I think.
Yeah.
We need to negotiate.
Yeah, so we've been spreading the love around. I got one for you. I'll bring it Saturday.
Attaboy. You're a good man. That sounds great. Attaboy. Perfect. Yeah, it's that time of year. It's just a great time of year. It's a beautiful night out tonight, and again, that's going to push this transition, and that bite's going to continue to get better as long as we get the weather, which is always, when we get into this time of year, is always kind of questionable. You just don't know what you're going to get. But if the weather holds up, those days you can get out, it's a great time to be here in Florida and loving the fish for sure.
Amen to that. Well, I appreciate it, my friend. I will see you Saturday morning for another show. Hopefully we'll get started on time.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know.
All right,
Keep
brother.
us on our toes. All right, buddy. Have a great night. Appreciate the time.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Yeah, buddy. See you, pal.
All right. As always, a pleasure to hear from our friend Capt Mike. And as you heard, fishing is going well inshore right now. It's a good time to get out there and capitalize on this hot bite, great weather, and good fishing. Inshore, nearshore, offshore, it does not matter. The bite is on, and it is time to capitalize. So let's see here who won our next free trip giveaway. We give away our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Let's give away our 10-hour all day for 2 guests now. 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Lucky winner is Karen Smedbron from Wisconsin. Congratulations, Karen, on the lucky win of a 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. That is awesome. Speaking of great food that our fishing friends bring down, that is our cheese curd connection right there, Josh. Yeah, she's a great lady.
I know she's supposed to be coming down.
She's coming down soon. Oh, yeah.
I'll be down there later this year. No, you need to come now.
Well, she's got a free 10-hour all-day trip for 2 when she comes down. So congratulations, Karen.
And cheese curds with my sausage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Last time she came down, she brought cheese curds and deer jerky, and they went together very nicely. I didn't share very much of that, though. I brought you some cheese curds, but not the deer jerky. That goes fast around me. Beef jerky is beef jerky, and assorted venison sausages. All right, so we talked a little bit about the weather. We talked about what's going on now, what's coming up. Mike mentioned the inshore fishing. Now want to get into some of what's been going on this week. Then we're going to get into your questions. It's been a busy week for us here at Hubbard's Marina, and for me personally, had 2 speaking engagements. Tuesday night at Bartow Ford. This past Saturday, we were up at Safety Harbor for the Off the Hook event, and had 3 days of fisheries meetings. So needless to say, was super behind at work, but got caught up pretty much today. And definitely one of the big things that happened was our Reef Fish Advisory Panel meeting. I am blessed to be on the Reef Fish Advisory Panel board, and this past week was appointed the chair of the Reef Fish Advisory Panel. So that was a huge honor, and was really cool at the meeting. We're going to share some of that information now. This is a public website page. Josh can drop the link into the comments for us, but basically this website page is on the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council page. Josh just drop the link into the comments so you can grab it after the show and look at it. If you ever go to the Gulf Council's website page, right on their home page is this upcoming meetings tab. I use this often. It shows you exactly what days are going to have meetings. You can see what meetings are coming up. So there's the Gulf Council meeting. You can always just click on it, and then it brings you to the page, and you can look at the agenda and meeting materials. And then all the meeting materials for the council meeting are here, and it's all linked. It's really, really cool. This is the council meeting that's coming up in Panama City Beach, and I will be traveling up there at the end of the month for that Gulf Council meeting. But needless to say, this Reef Fish Advisory Panel was the one that just happened on October 2nd. We dropped the link into the chat for you. Really cool information here about gag grouper. We spent most of the day talking about gag grouper. There was a little bit about the MRIP FES pilot study. Basically, this is the study that found the overestimation of recreational effort. Don't want to launch too much into that because that is a whole hour-long episode in and of itself, but we did a video on that on the Captain Dylan Hubbard page if you're interested. This is what I really wanted to show you about. This is a gag grouper presentation that they gave us. Nope, this is the wrong link. Let's see here. I think this is it. Yes. All right. So this is really cool information. A lot of people ask about gag grouper information and where they get the science from. And this was just something cool that I wanted to share. Let's see if I can figure this out. Yep, there I go. Look at me go. All right, so this is a camera array. This is the Panama City area, and this is a ton of video stations. So every one of those little red dots is a video station. Then this is the Pascagoula lab. These are all video stations out there in super deep water. And then this is a survey of the grass flats where the age 0 gag grouper recruit. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit because I missed one. There's gag grouper. Where's the FWRI? There's another huge camera array by FWRI. There it is. So this is a bunch of the this is a G Fisher composite of all the camera arrays. So people often ask where they get a lot of the information. Well, a bunch of the information comes from Fisheries independent data collection. And Fisheries independent data collection is when scientists go out there in the Gulf and collect data. And one of the ways they collect data is through camera surveys. And you can see each one of these dots is a camera survey area. Look at all those camera surveys that happen along the Florida coastline. It's amazing. Amazing. The blue ones are all Pascagoula. Green ones are FWRI. Red ones are Panama City. So this is one survey that they use, which is the video survey that they use to basically count the number of fish in a specific area. So it's a huge way that they kind of get a thumb on the pulse of the fishery and give an indice of abundance. And then they use a bottom long line survey. They use some other surveys to compile a full picture of fisheries independent data collection. And then they combine that fisheries independent data collection with fisheries dependent data collection. And what that gives you is a better picture of the fishery. The fisheries dependent depends on fishermen. Fisheries independent is independent of the fishermen. So pretty simple. It's pretty cool, and there's a lot of good information there. Josh is going to drop that link into the chat for you guys again. Definitely save it. Check it out after. And if you're looking for more information, there's a ton of information on the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council website. Really, really cool. And there's a ton to dive into. You can really nerd out on the Gulf Council website. Can we go back there real quick, Josh? Josh is going to bring us back there real fast, and then we'll be able to show you this. On the Gulf Council website, one cool thing that they have here is under Fisheries Management. You can, under the Fisheries Management tab on the Gulf Council website, you can go to Fisheries Science, and this page is really cool. We've put this together. I'm the chair of the Outreach and Educational Technical Committee, and this is one of the projects that we kind of worked on, was creating this Fisheries Science page. And basically, it has all this information kind of compiled into a one quick overview. It's really interesting information. Like, say you wanted to learn more about Gulf hogfish, you can click this, and it brings you to a species chart, and it goes into the Gulf stock characteristics, all the information, council regulations. Really, really interesting. And hogfish was kind of a bad example because there's not a ton of information. Let's click one, like, let's see, one that I know there's going to be a lot of information on. Let's see, gray snapper is pretty interesting. Mangrove snapper, gray snapper. They talk a lot about, these are kind of boiled down ones. This is only one page. Yeah, there's a lot of information there. I don't want to dive too much into it because you can't read it, but there's some really cool stuff there, so you can really nerd out and get pretty deep, diving deep into that information. So definitely check it out. But long story short, the big thing at the Reef Fish Advisory Panel meeting is they showed us the interim analysis on gag grouper, which actually doesn't capture the big pulse of the fishery that we're seeing yet. So I don't think we're going to see a catch level increase for 2024 for gags, because we saw a huge recruitment spike in 2019, which means we saw a bunch of babies get made in 2019. But it takes about 3 to 4 years for those fish to enter the fishery and be captured in those surveys. So when those fish get big enough to enter the fishery, meaning they get big enough to be keeper-sized fish, and they start getting picked up in fisheries-dependent monitoring, meaning they're dead at the dock because we were able to keep them because they're legal size, and they're deep enough to where that Pascagoula lab video array starts to capture them in deeper water. When those indices start spiking from that big recruitment spike in 2019, I think we're going to start to see some catch level increases and things start to turn around on gag grouper. Plus, I had a really interesting conversation with a scientist who has a kind of different look at the way gag groupers reproduce. One of the big concerns about gag grouper is their reproductive rate and the restriction of gag groupers' ability to reproduce, because historically the male to female ratio of male gags to female gags was observed to be around 20 to 30% male. Right now it's only 2% male. So one of the big concerns they have, and the big assumptions are, because there's so many or so few male gags, that their inability to reproduce is being exponentially grown. And basically, if they're unable to reproduce and they're not spawning effectively, the fishery is going to collapse. So they're taking a really cautious approach to trying to protect and preserve the fishery. Along with that, we've had some really bad red tides. Gag groupers life cycle, the young, small, age 1, age 2 gag grouper, those little 4, 5, 6, 8, 10-inch gag grouper, where do you find them? In the estuaries, in the grass flats, in the mangroves, and those areas were hardest hit by these red tide spikes. So you can actually see in that, can you bring me back to the Gulf Council page? In that data, you can actually see the correlations with the red tide. So it's really interesting. If you just type in, oh, that'll work too. Good job. You know so many cool shortcuts with computers. It's so fancy, Josh. Let's see if we can get to the actual Gulf Council page. All right. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that'll work. All right. So if you look at the data here, you can actually see the red tide spikes in the data. So this is the Gonna zoom in. Oh, cool. All right, so let me take my body out of the camera because you can see the big red tide spikes. One of the big red tide spikes, can you make the mouse do the little pointy thing?
It doesn't do it on PDFs.
Well, you see this big spike right here. You can see my mouse. So this was 2005. We had a real bad red tide, and you can see the index of abundance in this Panama City survey, which is capturing a lot of subadults, is really affected. Then around 2014, we had another big bad red tide. You can see another low spike. 2014-15, we had another big spike of red tide. Then 2017, 2018, another big bad spike of red tide. So you can see following every spike of red tide, you see a downtrend in the population. This is adult fish. The Pascagoula survey, the video survey, captures deep water effects. So you can see these big downtrends following the red tide events. You have a big spike in abundance, and then a red tide event happens, and the population really is negatively affected. And you can see the big spike in recruitment is definitely starting to get captured by the survey, but it hasn't creeped up above that area where they start to really get excited about the fishery. And you can see the same thing in this data, how we had a really good health of the fishery growing, and then the red tide kind of beat the fishery down. So bad water and the reproductivity of the gag grouper stock is really the concern of the fishery right now. So long story short, there are some positives coming. That big spike in recruitment in 2019 is going to start showing in the indices and the models and the data, and that should help. And then on top of that, there's a lot of research being done and a lot of conversations happening about the reproductivity of gag grouper. And essentially, what some scientists are saying is that the fishery, the population, can respond better to these events than we think. And essentially, they can change the way they spawn. Instead of these big aggregations and these huge spawning events, potentially these males are a little bit more, I guess you could say, strategically spawning, where they get into smaller aggregations and the male is moving between populations, where they thought one male kind of stays with the population of females and kind of does these big batch spawns, whereas now the conversation is potentially these males, because there's only 2%, they're moving between populations. But the problem is, if there's only a few handful of males and they're moving between populations and they're responsible for basically perpetuating a huge amount of spawning potential, if they get removed from the fishery, they have even more of a dramatic effect negatively on the health of the stock. So a lot of conversations going on, but yes, water quality is a big one, and the ability of the stock to reproduce is another big one. So those are the conversations, and that was the big thing at the Reef Fish Advisory Panel meeting. Then fast forward to Thursday, we traveled over to the East Coast and went to an FWC meeting, which was really interesting. The big information there is they were talking about closing Snook in Tampa Bay. How interesting would that have been if there was an announcement Thursday, if there was an announcement Wednesday night, Thursday morning, that Snook was closing in Tampa Bay for a year? People would have been pretty pissed. And it was very close, but they cut it. There was also going to be a 2 Snook limit on a vessel, so a 2 Snook vessel limit statewide. They cut that too. But that conversation is not going very far and will likely come back up. So I want to show you this real quick. This was the driver to the Snook conversation. A lot of people are like, wait, they were going to close Snook? Yeah, they were going to close Snook. And via a very narrow vote, they decided not to close Snook. And Snook Regional Management, let me get to the page, and then Josh can make it all long-term for it, or all large for us. But where is it? This is pretty, no, we're not going to go there because it gets confusing, and we're running low on time. So, Tampa Bay region. How do we do that again, Joe? This?
Yep.
Oh, nice. All right. Still really small. How do I zoom in on the top? Nice. Yeah. All right. So, I'm going to take myself out again so you can see it. This little graph right here is the important graph. Let me see if I can zoom it in even more. Look, I can do it myself. So this was the important graph. You see these little orange arrows. So the reason that they're considering closing Snook were these orange arrows. They do this Fisheries independent study of Snook, and it measures the subadults. So Snook 8 to 24 inches are picked up in the survey, and look at these low spikes. And 2010, we had that huge cold spike that killed a ton of Snook, and it was the lowest recorded indice of abundance of the population. The lowest number of Snook ever found in the survey occurred in 2010 behind that big cold spike. 2022, look where the population is, the number of Snook being observed in the survey. So basically, in an abundance of caution, because of the way Snook are managed, they're managed super cautiously. The staff was suggesting to shut down Snook in Tampa Bay because of that low number of subadult males or subadult fish in the population. So they voted not to close Snook, but they voted to readdress this. So in a year, this is going to come back, and if that data point is still pretty low, we could pretty much guarantee that Snook are going to close and become catch and release only in Tampa Bay. So definitely something to keep an eye on as we move forward. That was really the big thing from the Gulf Council or from the FWC meeting. There was some other conversations, but not really as influential. We want to give a shout out to some star senders. We'll give away a swag pack. We'll get into some questions, and then we'll end the show on that 39 hour. But first, want to give a big shout out to Angel Parent Perez hitting us with a bunch of stars. A total of an additional 1,300 stars. Thank you so much, Angel Perez. We appreciate you. LaShonda, appreciate you as well with the 250. Philip Kavanaugh with the big 1,200. Thank you, Philip. John Bull, what's up, dude? Scott Flynn, Todd Stutzman. Appreciate all the stars that you guys are sending tonight. And definitely a huge way to show your support if you're watching on Facebook. It's just a way Facebook viewers can help fuel the show and keep us going. And also a huge help if you're a supporter as well. Check that out too. Let's give away our Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Remember, if you're picked as the swag pack winner, you got to text us not only your home address, but also your t-shirt size, and we'll get you that swag pack mailed out very shortly. So let's find out who the winner is of our Hubbard's Marina swag pack tonight. Lucky winner is... Look at that, Angel Perez. Good evening, and congrats on that lucky win. That's pretty cool. Small world. We were just talking about you, and then you win something. That's cool. So make sure you text us your full home address and your t-shirt size so we can get you that prize pack sent out. All right, with that, we'll get into some questions for you guys, answer some questions, and then we will go ahead and wrap it up on that 39-hour trip and then get into our supporters after show for all of our supporters out there. All right, first question. When I was a kid, I remember the boats bringing in Goliath grouper. Do you think the fishery will ever come back? We talked about this a lot Saturday at our in-person event. And yes, I think the fishery will come back. It is back. They opened Goliath grouper to fishing this year, fishing effort. So you're able to go get a tag, and it's a super small slot. It's, I think, pretty expensive. I think a state residence anywhere from $75 to $250. Out of state residence like $500 to get the tag, to get in the lottery for catching and keeping a Goliath grouper. But it is cool that they opened. A lot of people are upset, like, oh, that's stupid. Why is the slot limit so small? We need to kill bigger fish. Why is it so expensive? It's silly. It's stupid. Why did they even bother opening it? Blah, 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 blah. A lot of negative feelings surround the Goliath grouper season right now. But it's all good because it had to start somewhere, and they weren't going to start big. They were going to start small. So the fact that the fishery is open and they're allowing harvest of these fish means there's going to be science and data collected, and more dead fish means more science. They can collect age and growth composition, and they can get a lot of information that they need to better effectively manage a fishery, because without fisheries independent science, which is independent of the fishermen, they don't need dead fish for that. without fisheries dependent science, which they need fishermen for, they need dead fish for, without these tenets of the stock and the science, they can't have subjective information, a piece of paper that says the fishery is this healthy, we need to open the fishery, and they can withstand lawsuits and really kind of push forward with opening the fishery and kind of allowing more harvest. They can't do that until they have the data to back it up. And right now, because they've closed the fishery, they don't have fisheries dependent science, so it's a lot of subjective feelings. And, well, I think Goliath grouper are cute and cuddly, so we shouldn't kill them. And that's the reason it's taken so long to get any Goliath grouper season, and that's the reason it's so crappy right now, is because a bunch of divers, a bunch of environmental groups, a bunch of people were trying to make sure that we weren't able to ever keep a Goliath grouper ever again. So it was really, really tough for the FWC. It's been like 6 or 8 years they've been trying to open Goliath grouper, and they finally got a small season open. So when people say, it's silly that they're open, it's such a small slot, and it's so expensive, they should just close it. You should be careful what you ask for, because at least they're killing some fish, they're getting some science, and that science is going to enable the health of the fishery to be better, effectively and subjectively managed, and then they can open it up more. But it's going to take time. It's going to have to go slow. And that's the beauty and the ugly side of fisheries management, the dichotomy of fisheries science and management. Whoa. Next question. What will the 39-hour long-range trips mainly target once gag season is closed? We're going to mainly target mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper, mutton snapper, scamp grouper, triggerfish, strawberry grouper, almacos, porgies, vermilions, and so much more. There's so many fish out there to be caught and tons of fish to go after. So mangrove snappers probably going to be the main target, but we're going to get a lot of fish while we're doing it. And there's going to be tons of room around the boat too. So really, really good opportunities for sure. Good evening. Is mid-February a good time to go on a 39-hour trip? Yes, for sure. In mid-February when we have good weather, typically it's a good time. But remember, probably not going to have 39-hour trips mid-February 2024 because we're going to be in dry dock. The Florida fishermen is going to be in dry dock January and February this upcoming year. So probably not going to have 39 hours until probably March, I would say. January, February, March. I would say probably starting in March, our 39 hours will resume, and we will not have them in January and February. It's going to be a longer dry dock this year on the Florida, probably close to 8 weeks. So I'd imagine no 39 hours in January and February. I would maybe think about 12-hour extreme trips, and when we have good weather in January and February, it's a good time to get out there and go crush the red grouper. Remember, January 1st, red grouper reopens. And we'll be able to go crush those red grouper and get our revenge on the red groupers. So looking forward to that. How crowded are the 10-hour trips? The 10-hour trip Thursday, I think, has 30 people on it. Today's 10-hour trip only had 27 people on it, but we had to cancel it due to weather. And Tuesday's 10-hour trip has just a few people on it. 22 people Tuesday, and the weather is gorgeous. So the weather is gorgeous, fishing is best Tuesday, weather is best Tuesday, fishing is best Tuesday. It's a great day to get out there on the water, and there's 22 people on the 10-hour trip. We also have a 12-hour extreme trip Tuesday. Weather is total crap Wednesday, but we have a 12-hour extreme Wednesday, and people won't switch to the Tuesday trip where we have a super light load. So a little bit frustrating, but I'll just keep telling you, the best day of fishing, the best day of weather is Tuesday. So I would strongly recommend Tuesday to go fishing. If you were thinking about going fishing, maybe Tuesday is a good day to go. So light loads right now. Do any of your trips catch blackfin tuna? Yes, for sure. We catch a lot of blackfin tuna out deep. We're kind of getting into that time of year where we start to see a lot of blackfin tuna. This is pelagic season. Will said it today in the morning video after the 39-hour trip. We caught a lot of kingfish. We caught a nice mahi-mahi on this 39-hour trip that got back this morning, and none of them were targeted. None of them were intended. Literally caught a mahi-mahi reeling up a bait. So blackfin tuna are going to be firing up here in the next couple weeks. For sure. Let's see here. a way to avoid the service fee when booking. It is one of those situations where the booking company makes their money on the service fee, the booking fee. So if you book online over the phone, that is unfortunately part of the reservation cost. You can avoid the booking fee by booking in person. And what I always suggest to people is when we open the reservations in the beginning of the year, you can book a bunch of trips and we eat the reservation costs, the booking fee that time of year. And then you can, from there, every time you show up, book some other trips. So like if you book a trip once a month in the beginning of the year and then you show up in January and you're like, you know what, next month I want to go on another trip, you can book it then when you're there in person and you don't have that booking fee because you're avoiding it booking direct in person. So yes, you could show up in person and book your trip and pay cash or pay card or whatever you want and avoid the booking fee since you're booking in person. But when you show up without a reservation, you're running the risk of showing up for a canceled trip, or we can't contact you. You can't hold a spot for you. So it is a little risky, but yes, technically you could definitely do that. Let's see, what other questions? How quickly does the night change with the cooler weather? How quickly does the night change with the cooler weather? I don't know what that question means, but it is chilly. This morning, or today, I wore a sweatshirt for most of the day. It was chilly. Definitely. How quickly does the bite change, maybe, is what the person meant. Definitely been seeing a pretty good bite. As Capt Mike said, the bite changed really quickly, and we're seeing it offshore too. Nearshore and offshore. We started to see that transition happen from that kind of summertime pattern to more of the cooler weather pattern. It started like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We started talking about hogfish. A month ago, we started talking about hogfish, and it's really just been picking up steam and getting better and better and better and better. So it's a good time to get out there and capitalize for sure. Let's see, one more question. We got time for one more. No more questions? Wow. We're that good, huh? Yeah, it is what it is. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Remember, next weekend we have our Sunday night live stream show every Sunday night. So hopefully you're going to show up for our show every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. But next weekend, October 15th, you want to come hang out in person? You want to come join me at Bass Pro Shops? We're going to be over there at Bass Pro Shops October 15th at 2 p.m. So Sunday, October 15th, a week from today, 7 days from today, at 2 p.m. at your Tampa Bass Pro Shops. We hope to see you there. And then October 27th, we've got Final Friday. That's right, y'all. Final Friday is October 27th, and it's going to be awesome. If you like hanging out, having a good time with your family, friends, and anybody, come join us for Final Friday, October 27th. We're going to have a chili cook-off. So if you are a chili chef, chili connoisseur of sorts, come join us. And we're going to have the sign-up link for the chili cook-off coming very soon. Details will be out this week. We're going to have like a little link where you go to sign up for the chili cook-off. We just basically need your name, phone number, and information of what you plan to cook. Then when you show up, you're going to bring your chili in a little slow cooker, and we're going to have some more details laid out. But basically what you need to do, what you will need to do this week to enter the chili cook-off is be willing to give your name and information and be willing to bring your chili in a big slow cooker. And I like spicy chili. We're just going to throw that out there.
Don't make them all spicy because we're going to have different categories.
Yes, we are going to have different categories. There's going to be some cool stuff. And we're going to have the crawfish boil like we always do. So there's going to be a seafood boil. There's going to be free beer, free soda, free water. We're going to have the chili cook-off, giving that stuff away free. And the winner of the chili cook-off is going to take home some prizes. So there's going to be prizes for the chili cook-off, some pretty seriously awesome prizes. There's going to be a little bit of a trip fare component, like top prize is going to be like $300 off your next trip. And then we're going to have prizes for second place and even third place as well. And we're probably going to spice it up even more. See what I did there? The pun? Spice it up. I'm a funny guy. So we're going to have some fun times. And then there's a costume contest that night, too. There's a John's Pass Wide trick-or-treating event, too. So all the businesses are going to be giving out candy. There is a John's Pass Wide pub crawl. There's a ton of specials. There's live music. There's a concert. It's going to be an awesome time, so do not miss out. Every single Final Friday is a good time, but the last Final Friday the only Final Friday of October is a special one because we do it a little bit bigger because of Halloween. It's a huge John's Pass Wide trick-or-treating event, too, so it's fun for the whole family. It's going to be a blast, and there's chili cook-off. Free food, free drinks, you can't beat it. Hopefully we'll see you for Final Friday. Hopefully we'll see you October 15th at Bass Pro Shops. Hopefully we'll see you here Tuesday at Hubbard's Marina for great fishing, great weather. And hopefully the weather will lay down. We'll have some good fishing at the end of the work week too. So stay tuned to our morning videos. Tell a friend about the show. Share the show. Share your knowledge. Tell a friend to follow Hubbard's Marina. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. Follow Hubbard's Marina on our social medias. Please help us out. Really, TikTok is what I'm trying to grow. I want to get to 10,000 on TikTok really bad so we can stream the show to TikTok. That'd be super helpful. So help us grow. And then also, if you're interested in some of the fisheries science and management stuff, some of my fisheries science and management rants, and some of the fitness stuff we're doing, check out the Captain Dylan Hubbard social media too. That's only Facebook and Instagram, not really super big and diverse with the Captain Dylan Hubbard stuff, but check it out. And then also, hopefully, we'll see you out on the water sometime soon. Check out the Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina group. Big shout out to the Real Ladies, part of our Lady Anglers at Hubbard's Marina. Got together, started a little fishing team. And the Real Ladies, as they call themselves, entered the Suncoast Lady Anglers Tournament, and we sponsored their entry fee, and they took home third place overall in the Calcutta, and they got a bunch of big fish. So check out the Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina page if you are a lady angler. Get some more information there. They're a real cool group as well. Hopefully, we'll see you out on the water or at an upcoming event, and especially for Final Friday. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. If you're in our Hubbard's Marina supporters group, we're going to start our supporters after show at 8:45. So join us there if you're in a supporters group. If you're not in the supporters group, you should become a supporter tonight. It's only $4.99, and you get private access to our private after show and more communication and more. So check it out. Hopefully, we'll see you sometime soon. Let's find out who the lucky winner is of our 39-hour trip for one. Lucky winner. 39-hour trip for one goes to, lucky winner is Ryan Ballsinger from Venice, Florida. Congratulations, Ryan. Hopefully, we'll see you next week for another episode, y'all. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Come find out why we're the #1 fishing charter in the entire country. Hubbard's Marina. We'll see you out there on the water. Have a good night, y'all. Thanks for watching.